Good morning, Taste Buds. I'm Michelle Bernstein. Today I've got recipes to let you pass up all those pre-made dips in the supermarket. So stay where you are. SoFlo Taste starts now. That's what they said on the news shows. How fun is that? Welcome all to SoFlo Taste. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein here in the Goya kitchen at J World in Coconut Creek. Do you make dips? I think it's a lost art. We now either buy a pre-made dip or dump a packet of Lipton onion soup mix, which I happen to like, into some sour cream and call it a day. Well, I'm here to tell you there is a better way. So let's get cooking. The first dip we are going to make is a crab dip. So we're going to take some softened cream cheese that I have in this bowl, combine it with good flavors. So I've got some sour cream. I have the tiniest bit of mayonnaise that you would never notice that is in here. And then I'm going to add some lovely sliced scallions, a little bit of fresh squeezed lemon juice. Because we are working with crab, let's not forget that we want to boost the freshness and flavor of the crab meat, which is why I've added some Old Bay. I love Old Bay. I think it's got such great flavor, and so I'm going to add a little bit because it just goes so well with the flavor of the crab meat, as well as Coleman's mustard. Dry mustard goes beautifully with seafood, and so I'm going to add a little bit of that too. I'm also going to add some Worcestershire. I love Worcestershire, but I don't like a lot of it, so let's just go with a little bit for flavor. I think it'll also boost the crab meat flavor. And finally, some Louisiana hot sauce, because we all need a little bit of that in our lives. So when it comes to crab meat, I actually call the boys over at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market, and girls of course, and I asked them for the best lump crab meat they could send me. And look how beautiful, it's gorgeous and pristine. Make sure you visit my friends over there at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. They're located at the corner of 441 and Sterling. Just go to DelawareChicken.com. You can call them at 954-983-6831. Just go there and take it all in. There's so much there, from seafood to, of course, all of the beautiful chickens and different fowls and meats. It's just gorgeous. Make sure to tell them that I sent you. All right, so let's combine this together first. This yummy mixture that is going to make this taste so yummy. You know, when you make a dip, everything has to be gooey, right? If it's not gooey and cheesy, it's just not good, especially if it comes out of an oven. And I'm finding that, you know, the meltable cheeses, a little bit of cream cheese, a little bit of all this stuff that we always have in our fridges or cupboards are what really makes a great dip. All right, once all that's combined, I'm gonna go ahead and add some cheddar and jack cheese combined. We freshly grated this because it tastes better. It's just softer and it melts better, by the way, if you grate your own cheese. It really does. Now, if you don't feel like it, I get it. Go ahead and buy it. It's up to you. But this is the way we do it at home. We always grate our own cheeses. So I'll add that to this mix, because the last thing you want to add in is the crab. And why is that? Because you want the crab to maintain its chunk. You want it to be big and chunky so that when you do dip in, you do not only taste the crab meat, but you feel it. You feel it on your tongue, on your palate. So the last thing we'll add in is that pound of crab meat. And we're just gonna very gently fold it rather than just mix it all in there. It has to keep its integrity. All right, so I love to eat things like this with either fried or baked saltine crackers. Is that weird? Maybe it's weird. So, because I'm not frying them at a restaurant, this is how we bake them at home. You take saltines, you put them on a cookie sheet, and you brush them with either a little bit of butter, which is this case, or you can spray them with a little cookie oil, and you can dust them with a little Old Bay. You won't believe that it's a saltine cracker anymore. It really just boosts the flavor and the texture, and they also look really pretty too. So what I'm going to do is put all this into a little square for cooking. Just put everything in there. All right. Okay, everybody, I'm gonna bake this at about 350, 375 degrees. Let it get really melty, really gooey. Come right back. We'll dip into that, and then we'll make more of my dip recipes after the break. So come right back.
Stick around. Things are just heating up in the Goya kitchen at JA World on SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. We are here at JA World in Coconut Creek, a place for kids, but they have an annual event dedicated to adults. It's next Saturday, January 28th. The JA Circle of Wise Women presents JA World's Uncorked. JA World becomes one of the top Epicurean experiences in SoFlo. For tickets and information, visit jasouthflorida.org/JA World Uncorked or call 954-979-7120. Now back to my dips. Dips and chips and dips and chips. Okay, so I am caramelizing some onions for my onion dip, which I'm not making this second because I have other stuff going on. These are just some julienne yellow onions that I cooked in a little bit of olive oil. I have some whole thyme sprigs in here. I mean, cooking it in butter is better, but because it's going into some cold things, I don't want it to coagulate, so I cook it in oil. It's doing pretty well though, so I'm gonna lower the heat just a tad bit and jump over to the crab dip, which I think might be ready in the oven. Let's take a look. It's all bubbly. Oh yeah. It smells so good. So I'm gonna gingerly place it over here. I put a little plate together with those saltines I told you all about that we cook with just a little brush of butter and Old Bay, and then here's this delicious bubbly crab dip. Let's top it with a little bit of chive for color. All right, delicious. Very excited about that. The smell is so good, and I know that's probably gonna be pretty ooey gooey, which every dip should be. All right, so I'm gonna jump into one of the best guacs I've ever tasted. Sadly, it's not my recipe. It is Jean-Georges, who is one of the most, instead of saying the most famous, he is probably one of the best chefs in this country. And a lot of people that don't love peas love this guacamole because it's really different. It has a lot of freshness going on. I did change one little thing. He blanches the cilantro in a little bit of water. You don't really need to do it, and so I'm not going to, and when you're making this at home, why bother? So let's start out by throwing some avocados into a food processor. Let's just cut them all open now. And obviously we're using frozen peas. It is not the season for peas. To be honest with you, I've made it with both fresh and frozen. I kind of like the frozen one better. They're sweeter. So we're just gonna stick to that. We're just gonna go ahead and scoop out the avocados. It's kind of hard to find perfect avocados here in South Florida. I find that a lot of times about half of the avocados that I buy are really perfect. It's interesting, there's a lot of different ways to try to see if an avocado is good. So the best thing, obviously, is just to check the flesh. And if you see any dark spots, I would stay away from them. If they're too mushy, stay away from them. But you know what my favorite thing is? To buy them when they're still a little bit hard, put them in a paper bag and just let them ripen on your kitchen counter. That way you know that they're not going to be bruised and they'll ripen probably in about a day or two. If you're in a hurry to eat them right away, you want them to be tender and soft but not mushy. If they're mushy at all, I wouldn't buy them. And don't ever try to make guacamole out of Florida avocados. I love Florida avocados and I think they're so delicious, but they do not make good guacamole. They don't have a high enough fat content to make a good guac. But I do love avocado salad from Florida. Delicious. All right, so the avocados are in here. The peas are going in. I've got scallions. I'm gonna put half in them now and save the rest for the top. We've got some charred jalapenos that we roasted on the burner of the stove here. And once they got charred, we just peeled them off. And that's it. So this is the jalapeno without the peel and without the seeds. Now, if you don't want to char your jalapenos, which you can do under a broiler in an oven or under a 500-degree oven or in the fire, you can use them raw and crisp as they are. Just make sure you take the seeds out, because if not, it will be a really hot, spicy guacamole that you might not be able to enjoy with absolutely everybody. A little bit of cilantro. So this is cilantro on the stem. I'm just going to cut it from the stem because I love the stems in my guac. So you want to cut this a little bit small. So tuck everything in like this. This is called a chiffonade. And you're just going to make sure your knuckles are out here. This is called the bear claw, so that you don't hurt yourself. And you're just going to slice as thin as you can, coming down to the lower part of the stem of the cilantro. And you see how it's nice and thin, little shreds of cilantro? That's what you want. Let's go ahead and add that in. And then the last thing we need for this one is some fresh squeezed lime. I would only put in 2 to begin with, and then you can add more if you want to later. If you add too much, you can never take it away. We always serve this with corn chips, but they're also delicious in tacos. All right, everybody, I think we're ready to go. Oh, salt. Make sure you salt this really well. Now again, I am not going to run this and let it go very smooth. We want it really nice and chunky, so we're just going to pulse it. Let's give it a taste. See if it needs any more salt. It does. Okay, let's try it again. All right, so let's take a look at our finished pea and avocado guac. You see how pretty this is? You've got the pieces of peas and avocado. It's beautifully green and has a little bit of that sweetness from the pea. I think it's really delicious. And one of the best toppings that he does for this guacamole is toasted sunflower seeds. So let's go ahead and put this down on a plate. Every last bit of it, because everybody in this room is going to want some, I'm sure. Top it with some more of those scallions. And then finally the toasted sunflower. And of course we have our crispy tortillas for topping, and I can't wait to dig in with my crew. So come right back, because I have a really delicious onion dip, and then of course a sweet dip. So come back for another one, and remember, all of my recipes are always available on the SoFlo Show's webpage. Just scan this quick response code and you'll be whisked off to the SoFlo Show's page. Come right back, because we have so much more to do together. We'll see what's cooking on SoFlo Taste right after this.
I'm design expert Elena Capra. The SoFlo Hour continues with SoFlo Home Project next on Local 10. Now, back to Chef Michelle and her food.
Welcome back to SoFlo Tapes and my show all about dips. Now, don't judge me, but sour cream and onion dip is pretty much the closest thing to my heart that you can get for a dip. The Lipton's onion soup mix, I mean, we use it on the brisket, so why not throw a little into your onion dip? Now, this is not the base to my onion dip, but this will help it. This is my MSG. This is my salt. So, keeping that in your mind, let's talk about this part of it first. So, just so you know, I like to finish my onions, the caramelized onions that I was making, with a little bit of sherry. I think it just gives it more of a depth. Kind of like when you have onion soup, you're really tasting the sherry that cooked down in the onions as well. So I went with that theory of the same kind of flavoring that I love in onion soup. So that has the sherry and the onion. I'm going to add a little bit of Worcestershire, which is really important in onion soup as well, and mix that in there. To give this all the onion flavor I can, I'm going to go ahead and add thinly sliced scallions. Mix that in there. These are thinly sliced chives. I'm going to add half of them to the dip, and then I'm going to top it with the rest of them. Now I'm going to add my salt in the Lipton onion soup mix and all those little pieces of crunchy onion, the dehydrated onion that are in there. Then I'm going to add some cream cheese to this. So probably about half of this pound of cream cheese will go into this. And really work that in there, as well as sour cream. I'm going to go with a little at first and see where we get. So you want to make sure that the cream cheese was softened before you add that into this mixture. If not, it's never going to mix in as properly as it should. I want to add a little bit of black pepper. Black pepper is a beautiful spice to add to onions all the time. All right, now let's see how we do. All right, I'm gonna give it a taste, see if it needs anything. We done good, people. We done really good. All right, so this needs nothing. Okay, maybe one thing. I brought some caviar with me for fun. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna serve this dip with some potato chips, because that's how it should be eaten. And an old, very dear friend of mine who is not with us anymore, who owned a place called Blackberry Farm. If you don't know it, you gotta look it up. One of the most incredible places on earth, near Knoxville. He used to serve at his home caviar dip and chips with onion dip, of course. So, in his honor, Sam Bell, I'm gonna top my dip with pretty green chives and a whole lot of caviar. It doesn't have to be fancy caviar. This is not the most expensive caviar at all. In fact, this is American caviar. Right over the top. And there you have it. Onion dip with caviar and chips. I think it's pretty delicious, and I think we should jump right in to our sweet dip. I love chocolate dip with all kinds of stuff. Fresh fruit, a piece of bread that just came out of the oven, churros, of course, ice cream, you name it. We always have some chocolate sauce that I make fresh at home just around in the fridge. So I'm gonna show you my easiest version of chocolate sauce. Maybe one day we'll come back and make the harder one, but for now, I've got some heavy cream, a little bit of granulated sugar, and the most important part, just some really, really good quality chocolate. This is all about the chocolate. So make sure you use something that happens to be a very high quality, high percentage of deep, dark chocolate. Bittersweet or totally bitter, non-sweetened chocolate. 85% would be the best. Just go out there and buy the best chocolate you can find. Let's add that right in there. So I would buy the best quality chocolate you can find. So it's high percentage of the chocolate, the cocoa, but also just really great quality. So this is almost done, believe it or not. See, it's silky already. That's it. Gorgeous dipping chocolate for your strawberries or anything you might love. So come right back and I'll show you how we're gonna dip that. And I can't wait to see you in a minute. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and my show about dips. So our chocolate sauce from sitting a little bit has thickened a little, and it's glorious. So I'm just gonna pour some into a ramekin like that. And you can go crazy. I mean, who hasn't ever had a potato chip dipped in chocolate? If not, you really should. Thanks for coming along with me today. Try these dips out for your Super Bowl party. They are all winners. Next week, I'm outstanding in my field, picking herbs for some great recipes. Our SoFlo weather allows us to grow our own flavor-filled herbs, whether it's in the ground, in your own front yard, or in a pot on the windowsill. So join me for some recipes with real herb appeal. Now, let's check in with my friend, your friend, our friend, Elena Capra, host of SoFlo Home Project, back on Saturday mornings. Hey, Elena, what are you doing next on SoFlo Home Project?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So today we take a look at a beautiful condo that might be small, but is big on style. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we share some tips on designing compact spaces as we tour this beautiful condo that's big on style and function.
Thank you, ma'am. So, Taste Buds, thanks for spending another morning with me. I love sharing my recipes with you. I'll see you all here next week. Goodbye, and good taste.